In this lecture, we're going to look at position playing and see how it applies to playing the Alman. When you're playing a real piece of music, you want to always have a position in mind. When you're playing real music, though, you're not always going to be able to have it be so clear-cut, whereas you're in one position and then you move to another position. We're going to have to kind of shift back and forth between positions. We're going to have to have your hand kind of smoothly go in between positions and kind of be in the middle in some cases. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we're going to do that in this piece. When we talk about position playing, what we're referring to is where we put our left hand in relation to the frets of the guitar. So here I'm in second position because my index finger is by the second fret of the guitar. And I'm kind of covering all four frets, like 2, 3, 4, and 5th fret, if that makes sense. This is a little bit different than violin playing, where it kind of refers more to the notes. So this is kind of our own thing, as is often the case in guitar playing. We're kind of making up our own system. And this is usually what people are referring to. So I say that I'm covering 4 frets. What I'm doing is just kind of very naturally putting my fingers down like this. You notice that there's a little bit of space. They're not like this. My fingers aren't smushed together. But they're not really stretched out unnaturally either. We see my hand, you can kind of see from this angle really clearly. My hand's kind of stressed out. That doesn't look very comfortable, and it's not. So what I'm going to do is just kind of keep my hand kind of naturally like this. You notice that these two fingers, this is kind of more elemental technique, but it's good, worth talking about. These two fingers here are kind of more straight onto the guitar. And my index finger I'm kind of playing off to the side this way. My pinky I'm playing off to the side this way, and that's totally fine. And also, this is probably a review for the vast majority of people, but you want to play on the front part of the fret. If I play this note, get a clear note, and I go back here, same amount of pressure, and it buzzes kind of badly. So as much as possible, I want to get right in the front part of the fret. Now it's true that I could squeeze really hard and get a clear note there, but I don't want to do that. That's going to tire your hand out, and there's going to be a lot of bad habits that sneak in. Now, if I talk about 5th position, I'm talking about putting my index finger on the 5th fret. And so I'm kind of covering these frets. I'm going from the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th fret. And actually, for this piece, this is as high as you're going to have to go. Now, of course, in classical guitar pieces, we're going to go higher than this, but for our purposes, this is as high as we're going to go. So we're going to kind of keep that in mind as we're looking at this piece. So just keep in mind that you want to have a nice position. You want that to be your default way of playing. Now, when we get into it, we're going to in a minute here, right? You want to make sure that, you need to realize that you're not always going to be perfectly covering all 4 frets. That's just not realistic, and like actual pieces of music don't work that way, where you're going to be here, and then back here again. You're kind of transitioning in and out of the different positions. But you want that to be your starting point, so you kind of have a default setting to fall back on. So in this lecture, we're going to wrap it up now talking about position playing. So you should know what position playing is, especially in a piece like this, where there's different bass notes that you have to hold down with your left-hand fingers. It's going to make it so that your hand isn't always perfectly covering 4 frets and perfectly doing a good position. Because if you're grabbing a bass note with one finger and you have to get a note on the same fret with another finger, then your hand might have to smush up, or you might have to stretch out in a different instance. So we're going to take a look at how we're going to do that in this piece as we keep going, so make sure that you know what position playing is, and then when you're ready, move ahead to the next lecture.